Guys, so I'm back this week with a DIY tutorial video, finally making a two-piece set out of this dress that I thrifted for what, $3.99. I've really been into two-piece sets lately, but I haven't been able to find one in a sustainable brand that I like, so I figured that I'd just find a nice oversized dress to make one out of. And so if you want to see how I did that, keep watching this video. So before I cut it in half to make the top and the shorts, I start by removing the zipper with a seam ripper. So because it's a basic stitch for the zipper, you can actually just literally rip it out, but you want to be careful that you don't put any holes in the fabric when you do this. And then I went into the shoulders and removed a little stitch that was keeping the interfacing connected to the lining because I'm going to take the lining out. So normally when I deconstruct a garment, I usually seam rip everything to remove the lining, but I didn't want to have to redo some of the clean seams, so around like the neck and the shoulders, I just cut it so I didn't have to re-stitch there. Just a little trick to make things faster. So then I marked the dress to see where I wanted the bottom of my top to be. And you won't be able to see it because I use this chalk, but then I just marked it with pins. And I cut along this line here, right underneath the pins to divide the two. So I'm starting with the top, and I first start by removing the princess seams in the front because I want the top to have a more boxy, loose fitting. And so once I did that, you'll see that there are holes that mark how far out you go to make your dart. And I just ironed out the creases and then maneuvered my finger in the hole so that you won't see the appearance of it because, you know, you don't want holes in your top. And then I went ahead and sewed the back where that zipper was on the same seam that was there. I just followed that all the way down. I pinned it up first so that things don't move while I'm sewing, just using a normal presser foot, and just followed that line all the way down to close up the back of my top. And then I went ahead and opened up the seams and pressed them flat so that it has a nice clean look on the inside and on the outside, more importantly on the outside. So after trying on the top, I guesstimated that I need to take in about 1 inch on each underarm. So I went ahead and marked out 1 inch from the underarm curve and then 4 inches down from there. And then I went ahead and connected those 2 points so that it could fade into the side seam that was already there. Went ahead and sewed that, and then it fit much better after. So now our final touch for the top is just to give it a clean hem. So I didn't want to sew twice and do extra work, so I went by first ironing a little baby hem here, and I did that all around the top. And so my technique is that I just fold and press, fold and press. And the reason why I'm doing this is so that when I fold my 1/2 inch seam over, I'll have a clean edge instead of like a raw edge with all of these fibers sticking out. As you see here, once it's folded over, it's a clean folded edge instead of a raw edge. So now I go ahead and pin down my 1/2 inch seam because I'm going to press it before I sew. So I just kind of keep a measurement to make sure it's 1/2 inch all the way around like so. And then I go ahead and press it down. It just makes sewing easier so things don't bubble up and then you have like this weird loppy seam at the bottom. So yeah, I just go ahead and press before I sew. Excuse my nails and how tragic they look. I do end up taking them off towards the end of the video. But anyways, yes, here is the pressed seam. And so you'll see it looks a little wobbly at the top, like it looks like it's going in a wave. But the most important part is that the bottom, and you see how I'm lining it up against the straight edge of the ironing board, is the bottom is straight so that when you're looking at the top, you see a straight bottom. Basically what happened is when I cut, I clearly didn't cut as straight of a line as I thought I did. So that happens, but as long as, like I said, it looks straight in appearance, you're good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew around that folded edge that I did at first. So as you see, that baby hem that I folded originally and then folded it over again a 1/2 inch, that's where I'm sewing at the very top there. So I end up having a finished 1/2 inch seam all the way around. But the baby folding over and pressing just helps me not to have to do extra work in sewing that and then flipping it over and sewing again. You know, sometimes you just get a little lazy. So this is the shorts. This is the inside, also known as the wrong side of what's gonna be the shorts. There was a split in the dress originally, so I went ahead and took that seam out. And then I pinned the bottom so that it would be straight at the top so that I could take 3.5 inches off to make a waistband. And I measured that out, cut it off. I took the side seams of the dress, matched them up, and then pinned the hem here so that I could begin tracing the pattern for my shorts. So I matched the hem up here because basically what I'm gonna do is take a pair of shorts that I already have right here, and I folded them in such a way where I have the pattern of the front all marked out, and that's the back half, and this is the front that I'm working with here. And I'm basically just going to trace around the crotch area here, or the front, so that I have my pattern for my short. I really like the way these shorts fit. They're comfortable, they're boxy, so I'm just gonna go ahead and trace that line right there and then continue to go up to get the pattern that I want. So now I'm gonna mark out something that's called seam allowance, and I basically lined up the 1/2 inch mark on that blue line that I just drew, and you trace a 1/2 inch all around that blue line so that you have your seam allowance marked out. And you do this so that when you go to put your garment on, it fits, and if you don't, it won't, because you're sewing on that original line. And so basically, in short, in any garment, there's kind of already pre-allotted seam allowances for everything, like armholes, leg holes, waistband, stuff like that. So I just measured what was on the shorts that I traced and copied that. So if you do something like this and use something that you've traced with, then just follow the seam allowance that is on your garment as well. So now for the back half of my shorts, I went ahead and did the same thing, traced the outline of my shorts for the back end, added the seam allowance, and cut it out. Then I went ahead and sewed along my seam allowance area, so a 1/2 inch all the way around. I made it a little bit smaller on the leg portion of the short because I realized I think I'll need more room. So after that, I go ahead and sew the crotch portions together. Okay, so I tried these bad boys on and they did not fit. So I had some extra fabric that I originally took off for the waistband that I put on the side here. And I tried them on and they are baggy, just like I wanted them to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew this in. And, oh, I just put this here to remember where the front was. And yeah, okay, so I added the panels, they fit great. Now I'm going to turn this over about 1 inch. And so, well, first I have to press it. I'm gonna turn this over about 1 inch, sew all the way around, and that is going to be my waistband. As I mentioned before, I had to improvise, add some fabric on the sides, so I just took the side seams out and then added those panels in. And now, since I don't have a waistband, I had to make the waistband out of the shorts themselves. I just folded it over 1 inch, pressed it down, make sure it's all even all around, and now I'm gonna sew on the bottom edge here. Once that was sewn, we have got our waistband back in action. So now we need a drawstring for our waistband. Here was some extra fabric that I had. Gonna have a little contrast here. I went ahead and folded it in half, and first, of course, I pressed it to make it flat, and then I sewed about 2 inches around, and then I cut off the extra pieces, and voila. So now we have to flip the waistband inside out. I don't know what this tool is called, but basically you feed it all the way through and you hook it on kind of like a crochet, if you've ever crocheted before. And then you lock the hook in place like so, and then gently pull the fabric through. So now that it's right side out, you want to press the part that you sewed down so it's like flat and square shaped like this. And you just do that across the whole waistband, and then you want to secure the ends. I just folded them inwards, pinned it like this, and then sewed straight across. And that's pretty much it for the drawstring. Pretty simple. So I measured 1.5 inches out from the center to mark where my openings would be to feed the drawstring through. And then I cut them open with my seam ripper and kind of finished it off very gently with my scissors. So now you just clip a safety pin to the edge of your drawstring, and you're literally gonna feed it through the entire waistband. You know, like if you ever washed your clothes and your drawstring came out and then you tried to put it back in, or maybe you didn't, and you have to feed it through, that's exactly what you're going to do for this, is just keep pushing it all the way through, inching it through little by little, like so. Okay, yeah, so I've got that pretty much halfway through, and then I just kept feeding it all the way around until I was able to pull it out of the other side. And here is the final look. I really love this, and I think I will be wearing it a lot this summer. Here's the before look. And here is the after. Like I said, I am obsessed. I totally love this look. It's totally my style. And I'm grateful that I was able to make it from something thrifted, which is more sustainable and ethical, instead of buying fast fashion. So if you guys are able to do the same, I would totally encourage you to do so. And thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more Things Key. Bye!